Good morning, good morning, good morning, and happy Monday. Welcome to the weekly energy report for October 10th through the 17th. Is that today? Isn't that horrible? I'm so ungrounded, you guys. I hate that. But it's been so floaty lately. But anyways, yes, today is the 10th and we are going through the 17th or the 16th. Okay. So I'm going to use the animal cards because I think we need some gentle energy today. I want to welcome anyone who's new. So if you are new here, I am Soul Coach Michele, your co-creative life coach and friendly neighborhood super woo. And I want to welcome you to my channel where we talk about all things metaphysical, manifesting. Sometimes I talk about manja because I'm a foodie, and music because I love music and I studied music for the first half of my life. So I was in the music business, studied the music, I was a singer, all that stuff. So music, manifesting, metaphysics. Hey Rose, love and light to you too. How are you? Good morning. I hope you got my email because I wanted to send you out a big hug today. Big hug for Rose. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are here and joining me, if you are live, you can go ahead and comment in the live comment section throughout today's live stream, which is if you're looking at the screen, I believe it's on your right here. If you are watching the replay, it's going to be below. So even though this technically is the weekly energy report for October 10th through the 16th of 2022, I am a firm believer that if you have happened upon this through a keyword or some other search, and it's like 2087 and YouTube is, and I'm standing in your living room like a hologram, like Princess Leia from Star Wars, and I know I'm dating myself, but that means this is for you. So no matter when you see it, I'm doing this reading right now. My intention is for both it to be to help support your spiritual journey this week, as well as anyone who sees it at some future time, because that's what it's all about, right? Because it's all energy. So let's talk about that. So what a doozy of a full moon in Aries. Energy is still going on. Let's see, really quick. Where's I didn't bring my phone with me upstairs. Isn't that horrible? I have all the gadgets except that. Let's see. Oh, where is my thingy? Is it here? No. Anyway, I think we have a full moon in Aries, which hit yesterday right around 4 o'clock Central Time. Measure your own time zone based off of that. A full moon in Aries, lots of stuff going on. There was Chiron and all other influences. So here's the funny thing. What that was about was it's full moon in Aries, hanging out in Libra house. But you also have several other planets still kind of either retrograding or stationing to go direct and all that kind of stuff. Mercury went direct last week. We're still in shadow. So with all of that, the culmination and energy of that full moon will probably last for a couple of days, usually about 3 days. So today, tomorrow, Wednesday, maybe it'll end, I think, morning of Thursday. So if you're not done your full moon ritual yet and you want to, if you're on my email list, I did give you 3 journal questions for the full moon. I think I sent the email out on Friday. So if you want to do your meditation and light your candles and do your full moon thing and do your journal work, it's in there. If you have not joined my email list, it is free. And you get generally a weekly email. September I took off because Mercury retrograde was just a slap me around kind of a month. But I did come back for that tail end of that and that full moon. So maybe practice with those questions. But to be quite frank, it was like, kind of harvesting out after all of that stuff, because we did a lot of work over the last several months, especially with everything retrograding and now starting one at a time to go direct, is harvesting out, okay, now that I have all this stuff, I don't know if I used to work on a farm as a kid. I know I lived close to New York City, but I worked on a peach farm, and you would sort the peaches. So you have firsts, which are the perfect ones like you see at the grocery store. And then you have seconds, which aren't as pretty, but they're totally usable. Like you can make peach pie, peach jam, all this business. And then there are the ones that are kind of like gross, that have been sitting around too long. So you're sorting all of this stuff that you have harvested. Okay. And then you're asking yourself 2 questions. Aries is, what about me? Me first, me. How do I show up? How do I want to manifest? It's a fire sign. So when you think about the process of manifesting, you have water, which is your emotional vibrational energy that contributes to air, thought, that then the fire, sorry about the buzzing, that's like our sick Amazon truck. It makes the most horrible noise when it backs up. So if you can hear that, I apologize. But that fiery part is where you put your intention in the oven and you start baking it. I must be hungry, but I did have a good breakfast 'cause I'm talking about food a lot, but who knows? I did say manja manja, right? So anyway, and in this fiery thing where the intention we're setting is who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? Who am I? And who do I want to be? Right? And how do I, because we're in Libra, we're balancing that between showing up authentically without being small as I interact with other people in a balance that favors my own authenticity, which can be a little scary sometimes. Because as we do that kind of stuff, people start to react and respond to that. And that can be a bit scary. So we can either leap in, which is the Aries energy, is inviting us to make that leap, inviting us into our authenticity, inviting us to really realize that however people react, that's them. Has nothing to do with us. If we're playing small to make other people happy, not cool. Because who's the short end of the stick? We receive it, not them. We need to do what's best for us, and then they can come along or not. And that's a decision that you'll start to see the weeding. Okay. And that's kind of what the full moon is inviting us to do. Also, as part of that, the poke that's happening is in the Chiron because it is retrograde right now. So it's inviting us to really sit with our wounds. You know, Chiron was the wounded healer. He could heal everybody else. Like he was the guy to go to if you had a problem. But he had a lot of shit. He was like always just working on resolving because he kept, I'm going to put down my shit and fix them. So the lesson from Chiron is we need to put our own mask on first and then help other folks. So in this retrograde, that's what we're being invited to do, to sit with our own shit so that we can get it out of the way so it's not one more thing interfering with us either deciding to take the leap of faith that is the invitation of Aries full moon versus setting on the edge, looking at all the opportunities and saying, well, if I do or I don't, but if I don't make any choice, I can just sit here. Well, that's a choice too. It's a choice not to move forward. Okay. So work on the healing. Start asking yourself, where is my wounds being triggered? What energy is the common thread here? And what is the opposite of that? And what is the most loving way can I step towards that opposite feeling, the feeling that I want to have, so that I can feel good and take that leap? And yeah, it's going to be a little scary, but just hold your nose and leap and know that you're going to be okay because you're going to leap from a place of love. You're not sitting on the edge from a place of fear. And so that's kind of, and all that energy is under a fire sign. So it's really like this. So you might be being barraged with situations that are showing you where this is coming up and it's triggering these emotions. And it might not be the original trigger, but it's emotions that will touch that. Like last night we were watching, of all things, Quantum Leap. Okay. And Darren was so moved by the story. And when it was over, I apologized. I said, I didn't realize that was going to be so triggering. And he said, I didn't either. I don't know what happened. And we talked about what I just shared with you. And he said, oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is coming back to me. Because again, Chiron is in retrograde. So it's going to be an old trigger, old stuff needing healing to get stuff out of the way. And it was so interesting. And he released it and he kept saying he was sorry. And I said, no, just let it come out. I'm going to switch the channel so we don't trigger some more. And we're going to, we're just going to give you the space. Because the thing is that when stuff like that happens, and sometimes it happens to me too, I'll be watching a TV show and the same thing. You're just like, wow, that really triggered me. And I don't know why. But when you think about it and you say, where did it hearken me back to? That's where you will find your answer. Okay. So for this week, I do want to pull some cards to talk further about like maybe the question for the energy of the week in regards to all this is what support or what grace, or I'm trying to find the right word. What medicine is a better place to be? What medicine do we need to support us saying yes to those healing situations because they can be, like I said, challenging, whether it be scary or hard or painful and all of this kind of stuff to kind of process this information that we are trying to process, these experiences, to convert them from coping mechanisms to wisdom and heal it through. So what is the medicine we need this week and in this full moon energy, because it's going to kind of hog up the whole week, really. I am going to invite you guys to ground a lot. I'm noticing, like I said earlier, I'm not real grounded. So I'm thinking other folks are really kind of floaty and not in a fun, floaty way. Like a lot of times, it's really kind of like this lack of direction and clarity. I don't know how else to put it. Like you have ideas of where you want to go, but you're still kind of like, what the hell just happened? So what I'm going to invite you to do is ground some. So that's maybe what I'm being called to do, and maybe this is for you, then this is why I'm being called to share it, is I'm going to do some yoga. I'm going to do some body groove. Love body groove because it's fun, it's expressive. You can find it on YouTube if you don't have a subscription. It's like, it's not like your typical aerobics dance class. It's just fun movement. The other channel on YouTube here that I like for yoga is Sarah Beth Yoga. She's so gentle and so lovely. Also, if you'd rather do an online class, my favorite online class teacher is Jen Yaki out of I think it's her website is gatherlaquinta.com. And she says, again, another lovely and gentle human teaching yoga. So yoga, dance. And the reason I like body groove is because they teach you the move and then they're like, just do whatever you got, whatever you can do. If you're chair dancing, fine. If you're like going, boobs to the wall with your dancing, fine. And anything in between. And if you get it wrong, they don't care. So it's just move and be in your body. I think also being out in nature, I do a daily nature walk every day. I have grounding mat that I've purchased. That's really nice. I can share that at some point. And just like really maybe doing some mindful eating of denser foods. Like I know like most, I'm not a healthcare practitioner. I don't claim to be. My go-to for foods are like red foods because they're root foods. So like red meat, like a hamburger, um, with no bun, no cheese, make it in like a little lettucey salady kind of thing. Um, Also strawberries and red bell pepper, tomatoes, things that are root chakra that are super grounding. Okay. You might even do some root vegetables. So all of that kind of stuff for grounding. Okay. So that's what we encourage this week is to kind of get grounded. And the other way to ground is into like when we're not feeling clear, maybe journal out what is it that I want? And then ground into those wants even further by tying emotions to them and not good or bad. Like get real creative, you're a creative human being. That's part of our jam. We're co-creating everything. So jam on your creative vocabulary. Get on the thesaurus.com and start finding some words that are going to support the emotions of the things that you want. So you ground into them. Okay. So all of that stuff. So what's the medicine that we need to support all of that? All of what's going on this week. Okay, so we're going to just clear and we're going to pull some cards so that we can do that. And the first card I'm going to pull is going to be our answer, the medicine card, and then 2 supporting things. So I'm guessing you want to pop out. Okay. Of course it is. Can't make shit up. Okay, next thing. And it's so funny because like I was just talking to my 2 woo besties this morning and I said, if the universe tells me to slow down one more time, I'm going to be like, what? Because I feel like even though, yes, on here, I'm like, blah, 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 blah. I am from New York originally, so I'm going to talk fast, and I'm Italian, so there's a lot of this. But the other thing is I feel like when I'm in my own space, I'm almost sloth-like. So I'm like, how much slower do you want me to go? But I'm striving. So you're not alone in the whole when the universe calls to you. I guess we're gonna have that card too. When the universe calls to you to do something that you're just like, what are you saying? So just be okay with not being okay. That's kind of the whole thing. So let's see. We have one more to pull. Yeah. This one. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. And I love it. Last week, all the cards were upside down, which was all, stuff that you forgot that you knew. This week, all the cards are right side up. So our answer, I think it's so funny because I think it's such a big message is, dear spirit, right here, bring a gentle touch. Bring a gentle touch. So I think the universe telling me to slow down is also that. And I think that message is to give yourself grace through this process. So as we're going through this process of really kind of digging into what's the original trigger? Do I really need to go down that road, or can I just identify the emotion? And what is the opposite of that emotion that would feel better for me? And you don't have to go from like absolute like anger to like ecstasy. Just coming up one little rung to say frustration. That's good enough, and be graceful with yourself. And then come up another rung to maybe apathetic. And then come up to, okay, I'm feeling a little more balanced. Like, give yourself grace in those steps. Don't be perfectionist about your spiritual journey, because that is not what it's about. It is not about being perfect in the spiritual journey whatsoever. It is about you learning more about you, your connection, and as you are to your soul, and then that part of you that is the extension of source energy that is within you, that surrounds you, that created you, that manifested into the individual that you are, but yet still is part of the oneness. That requires so much grace and bringing a gentle touch through this process to figure out, who am I, right? Because full moon in Aries in the Libra house, balancing that with, who am I in relation to the collective, and balancing that in the sense of, I want to show up as my authentic self. And that can be scary. Like I said, we don't know how people will react. But if we can come from that special place of, other people's opinions ain't none of my business, which can be challenging, especially if they're family or friends or whatever. This is a time where your ascension process is going to get a little bit tricky. Might be a little tricky, and you're going to witness some people acting weird. So give yourself grace. You didn't do anything wrong. There is no perfectionism need here. Okay. So when you feel that perfectionism rising up and saying, I'm not doing this right, stay, okay, in my awareness, I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to say, I forgive myself, and I'm going to replace that with grace. Say, I'm doing the best that I can. There is no right and wrong here. Instead of, I'm not doing this right, I'm doing the best that I can. And that's enough. So from that, turn knowledge into wisdom. We bring wolf spirit in. And I think that part about giving yourself grace, and the way to do it is when we are in awareness, bringing back that wisdom, bringing back the wisdom that's in your bones, that the perfectionism stuff was programmed in. That was when we were little children. Nothing had to be perfect. Everything was cool. You could make a mud pie and it was beautiful. You get to kindergarten and they start grading you on your coloring. You went in or outside the lines. And then from there on, it's compare, 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 and trying to be perfect when there is no such thing. It's a lesson in bullshit. Okay. So if we can get back to the fact that, if we are, instead of saying, oh, why am I not doing this right? Or I'm doing this wrong, instead saying, you know what? I'm doing the best that I can. That's grabbing the wisdom in your bones, turning the knowledge and awareness of, this doesn't feel right. And instead of labeling it as wrong or imperfect, pull that label off, throw it away, and deep dive into your wisdom and remind yourself you're doing the best that you can in this moment. That's it. And that's totally enough. Okay. And then the last thing is groundhog spirit. I love groundhogs. Aren't they just adorable? And it's time to let go. Talk about the perfect message for this week, right? So the time to let go, and letting go of all of that shit, processing all of that stuff. Just give yourself the grace and the time. If you need to weep, if you need to giggle, if you need to watch a movie to get any of that out. Like I have, we've been watching, I don't know if you know this show. It's a British show, and it's got Sir Ian McClellan in it. And oh gosh, I can't remember the guy who was in Codfile. And if you're old enough to remember that, you know how old I am. He also, very many years ago, was in the original Planet of the Apes. He was also in, I can't remember his name, for goodness sake. I think his last name is Jacoby or something. But anyway, it's about this gay couple who's been together for 48 years or whatever. And the show, it's like probably what Will and Grace maybe was based on, or like me and Darren think it's like, oh, this is like the British version of Seinfeld. So if you loved Seinfeld and you love British humor, this show called Vicious is fantastic. And we watch that show and it makes you spit your drink across the room. So if you need that laughter energy to release, I highly recommend that show, or whatever show you spit your drink across the room. Like, find the funniest show. If you need to weep and you can't bring it forth because it's too painful for you, maybe watch a film. Maybe watch it. Like Steel Magnolias is my go-to. If I need a good cry and I don't want to, I need to release stuff, but it's just too challenging to release from that really personal space, giving yourself that space to release in another form is always helpful too. But either way, it's time to let go. You might do it through physical movement. Releasing and letting go of energy is great. That's why yoga is great for processing grief, for processing anger, for processing anything. Yoga, the body groove that I mentioned, going for a walk. That's why this week it's so important to do multiple things to process the stuff, the Chiron stuff that's coming up in connection with how you're going to want to show up authentically in the world. Because there's all that crap that's blocking your big debut. I'm a huge Downton Abbey fan. So they have their when a young lady reaches a certain age, they're presented at court, right? Your debut. Or back in the day in the South, the debutante ball, or up in the North where I'm from, we had sweet 16s. And it's almost like that's kind of happening for a lot of spiritual folks. And this moon is very inviting of that. Like, hey, get yourself dressed, put your face on, however that looks, whether you want to show up looking like David Bowie from 1986 or like the early 80s, or you want to look like somebody from The Great Gatsby, or you want to look like whatever mix of that is you, or no makeup at all. Show up authentically as you. And there will be stuff that comes up like, oh shit, what's people going to think? It doesn't matter. They're going to think that they're going to choose, however, whether you show up like that or you show up how you think they want you to, it doesn't matter. They're still going to label you. So do what you want. Be happy. Show up as you are. Allow those triggers to happen. Allow that Chiron wound to be triggered so that you can process it. But as you do, remember to be so very gentle, so very gentle. And remember, as we turn that knowledge into wisdom, what we're going to say to ourselves is, instead of when we start hearing ourselves, why can't I do this right? Why is this so hard? Why am I not perfect? Why I'm doing it wrong? In through the nose, out through the mouth, doing the best that I can, and that's okay. And that's your wisdom coming through. And then lastly, time to let it go, which is what you're doing as you do all of this. Letting it go, processing this, using the tools that, are always there for us. Your breath, your movement, your mind. The fact that when we talk about the only thing that you can control is you are in charge of your thoughts, not the other way around. So taking that power back for yourself, stepping into that light, stepping into that power, stepping into the authenticity, that which is you. But doing so instead of from like this warrior perspective, step into it because we are in the feminine energy in this time space. Step into it from more of a divine feminine perspective, of grace, of wisdom, of intuition, of using the tools and being that internal leader for yourself that gives grace, that gives space, that lets go, and it's okay, and doesn't apologize for it, because there's no need to do that either. Okay? So that is this week. A lot of heavy duty stuff, y'all. Lots of heavy duty stuff. Full moon, bringing it in and letting it go. That's what's so great about full moons, is they invite us to really look at stuff. They shine light on the things we need to see We need to process so that we can let them go. That's why full moons are about letting go. They're about gratitude. Thank you so much for this invitation. I'm so excited to join this party, so that I can do all the things. And then we can move forward. And you're still moving forward regardless. It's just sometimes it's like, oh, wow, okay, I got to heal this so I can get to the next thing. It's the Shiro's journey, y'all. It's a cycle. Okay. So I think that is it for this week. Let me see. Yes. Okay. So if you want, join me over on Facebook on my personal page. Join the email letter below. I think I think it's below in the blurby thing. There is a link for my newsletter if that's something that you're not on yet. And there's also another link for how we can work together. So I do offer co-creative life coaching. I offer some readings, and I offer, if you're on the newsletter and you do work with me, either in the coaching perspective or have done your New Year's reading, because I know it's only the early October, but y'all, I'm already going to start sending out to my VIPs. VIPs get first access to making their pre-sale appointments, which start in November for their special, my signature 14 card reading for the following year, in this case, 2023. Holy crap. So be on the lookout for that. I'm probably going to send that out sometime this week or next week to the VIPs if you're watching and you know who you are. But anyway, so you can work with me through coaching. You can work with me if you're more of a self-paced person. There are self-paced courses on my website you can check out. And I think it's like the self-paced course tab or courses and classes or something. And then every Monday you can join me here at 11 a.m. Central for the live chit chat. And then also, Halloween card pulse is coming up too. So that's going to happen on the 31st. I have to rearrange the schedule a little bit because I looked at my schedule and I was like, oh crap, I have the weekly reading and the card pull at the same time. Got to fix that. So the weekly reading I'll probably do early and tape it and then share it. And then I will be doing the card pull live around this. I think it's either 11 or 11:30, where we get on for an hour right on here. It's my favorite time of the year. Veil is thin. You have to join me live if you want me to pull you a card and give you a reading. And I will get through as many as I can in an hour. And then again, all messages. If you can't make it, I encourage you to watch it, because just like I intend for everything, what I share for one person may resonate with you. And if that's the case, then that's for you too. So remember, you can click on the website below to join the newsletter. Click on the link below to see how we can work together if that's in your jam. And join me on October 31st, Monday. And I will see you then. Otherwise, I will see you in the vortex. And as always, back here next Monday, 11 a.m. Central. And you can watch the replay after that. So love you so much. Love you too, Rose. Thank you so much. Thank you, and have a beautiful day. Mwah, y'all.